Alright, let's throw down some cold, hard facts here. The video game industry makes billions, that's with a B, dollars every year. That's a lot of cash. And with a lot of moolah comes a lot of games flying off the shelves. But enough about thinking about the successes. We're here to talk about the failures. For whatever reason, people like to see other people fail. And if you're one of those people, you're about to be giddier than a fat kid at a candy convention. It could be a console, a game, whatever. Anything's fair. But whatever it is, it had to have fallen on its face so hard, we had no choice but to laugh at it. Hey, I'm Stuttering Craig for ScrewAttack's Top 10 Biggest Bust in Gaming. No, not the other kind of bust, perv.
Number 10.
I will personally give you a high five if you can tell me what this thing is without me telling you. Time's up. It's the Apple Pippin. Yeah, you know Apple, the makers of the iPod, teamed up with Bandai and actually had a console of their own back in '95. The CD-based console had your standard D-pad and buttons, but also a trackball. I mean, what kind of home console would ever use that as a standard input? Nowadays, Apple is this beast of a company that is widely thought of as cool or hip. But back then, it was this weird computer that wasn't a PC, so people were really weary of it. In addition, this thing was going up against the N64, the PlayStation, the Saturn, the Jaguar. This thing lost to the Jaguar. Come on! Now Microsoft is racking in money hand over fist with the 360. So some people are asking, how come Apple doesn't make its own video game home console? Well, this is why. The Pippin.
Number 9.
You know what would be sweet? If I could hold my Game Boy and talk to my friends while I'm on the move. That was the philosophy behind Nokia N-Gage, and even though cell phones were their forte, they swore they could deliver on the games. Sonic, Rayman, Crash Bandicoot, Tony Hawk, Tomb Raider, Bomberman, Splinter Cell, heck, even Metal Gear Solid had a game in the pipeline. The N-Gage had some big-name games going for it. But you know what it didn't have? Everything else. Yeah, we've heard the taco jokes, but you know what's not funny? Crappy games. And even with those crappy games, the N-Gage had this crazy ability to download things, so if one person actually bought one of those games, it would be online in mere minutes for the dozens of other people who had an N-Gage to download it. Ah, piracy. Ruining companies one day at a time.
You are a pirate!
Number 8.
Okay, Turtles in Time. Best beat 'em up ever. We've hit on this countless times. So with remakes of old school games all over the place nowadays, TMNT Reshelled was unveiled and people got excited. And then it came out. Remember all those things that made the original so great? Yeah, they, forgot them. The catchy music? Barely recognizable. The gameplay? Way different. The pretty colors? Pretty much absent. Except for the pirate ship level. No, it's not the worst game of all time, but come on. Ubisoft took one of the greatest games ever and made it... That's what I call a bust.
Cowabunga!
Number 7.
Look at this guy. This is John Romero, one of the creators of pretty much all your favorite old school FPSs. Wolfenstein 3D, Doom, Doom 2, Quake. This man was responsible for some really big games in the video game world. So imagine, you've seen this guy's phenomenal work on these games, and then you see this in a magazine. Overhyped and under good, Daikatana was doomed from the start. Long story short, the team developing it had to throw away nearly a year's worth of work on the game when Ramiro wanted to switch to a more sophisticated game engine. Tons of people quit the team, and about 2 years later, Daikatana emerged as a blurry, ugly piece of trash that just tarnished Ramiro's then excellent reputation for years to come.
Number 6.
Everybody praises the DS for being the first to use a touchscreen on a mainstream handheld. But in actuality, they were just the first to make it not suck. Though in that aspect, it was kind of ahead of its time. Tiger Electronics, the company behind this bomb of a console, tried to market this thing to an older crowd. But if you were to see what would become of those games...
Damn, that's the second time those alien bastards shot up my ride.
Yikes! How do you make Duke Nukem a pansy? Well, you take away his ability to jump and strafe and, well, even just turn around. In other words, you put him on this thing. Even the name was confusing. Look at this. How do you say this? Game.com, right?
Wrong!
It's Gamecom. Whatever. At least the planned Metal Gear Solid game was never released. Actually, now that I think about it, how come that game keeps getting planned for consoles that end up bombing down the road? Could that mean... No way.
Number 5.
Gee, it sure is boring around here.
Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. There's just no way we couldn't put this on here. If you thought a console that could turn Duke into crap was bad enough, the CDI treated Mario and Zelda way worse. Let's put it this way. Two of the video game world's biggest icons couldn't avoid suckage on the CDI. In fact, Zelda fans everywhere were treated to not one, not two, but 3 giant slaps right in the testicles in disc format. Throw in some crappy controllers, a $300 price tag, and the failed promise of the next generation of CDs, and wow! Surely this makes for one of the worst consoles of all time.
You know what they say, all toasters toast toast.
No, Mario. All toasters toast bread. Stupid guy.
Number 4.
Alright, this is hilarious. A console with graphics so painful to the eye that the commercials almost never actually showed gameplay. In a way, the ads actually advertised the Virtual Boy faithfully, at least subtly. Like, look at this one. This girl is actually trying to avoid the Virtual Boy because she doesn't want the headaches that come from staring at red and black the whole time. Now, admittedly, this should have been higher, but the only reason this wasn't higher on the list is because there's this one guy on the face of the planet who actually likes this thing.
Not only is the Virtual Boy one of the most revolutionary systems that humans will come to know, but it's fun, and it's got a real cool futuristic style.
Number 3. Number 2.
While E.T. may be the biggest flop of a game that actually hit the market, Duke Nukem didn't even make it to the shelves, and that is a far greater bust. Alright, just a quick timeline of Duke Nukem Forever. The game was announced in 1997 and switched engines twice in 1998 and 1999. Gameplay footage was first shown at E3 2001. 2 weeks later, some guy pre-ordered it. Everything gets scrapped in 2002. New gameplay footage is shown in 2006. A new teaser is shown in 2007. And here in 2009, developer 3D Realms fired the Duke Nukem Forever team, and Duke's fate is forever unknown. So, for over a decade, we've been teased and teased time again for a game that, if we're very honest, cannot live up to all the hype. And for the record, if the guy who pre-ordered Duke Nukem Forever can actually show us the pre-order receipt, we will gladly reimburse you that $10 on behalf of gamers everywhere. Let's hit the old craptastic recap before we get to number 1. Number 10, the Apple Pippin. Number 9, the N-Gage. Number 8, TMNT Reshell. That game sucked. Number 7, Daikatana. Number 6, Gamecom. Number 5, CDI. Number 4, the Virtual Boy. Number 3, ET on the 2600. And number 2, Duke Nukem Forever.
It's number 1.
So what ultimately makes a great console? Games, right? Well, Nintendo has Mario and thousands of other titles, Sony has Nathan Drake and thousands of other titles, and Microsoft has Master Chief and thousands of other titles. Well, the Gizmondo has Sticky Balls and 7 other titles. In addition to the massive sarcasm, library of games, if you got the cheap $230 version, you were also bombarded by ads while playing them. Now, there was an ad-free version of Gizmondo, but you had to pay a hefty $400 for it. That's a pretty good amount for a console, but for a handheld, you've got to be joking. Ironically advertised in Nintendo Power, it actually had some features that were ahead of its time, like a built-in GPS, a camera, media functionality, and text messaging. But what it lacked was executives not involved in organized crime. Yeah, one of the main guys behind the Gizmondo was linked to the Swedish Mafia. So, let me get this straight. The Gizmondo had the Mafia behind it, and the thing only sells 5,000 total units? Wow. The whole Gizmondo story is so crazy, there's even rumors of a movie being made about the whole ordeal. Now, usually when a movie's made about a true story, it's either something that's really, really, really good or something really, really bad. But in the case of the Gizmondo, well, there's really only one thing it could be. A complete and total bust.